Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Literally, just seconds. One moment, we're looking at what seems to be a completely standard off-season contract dispute. You know, the kind of business as usual stuff we see every single year. And the next moment, we are witnessing a player wage an absolute scorched earth digital war against one of the most storied franchises in all of football. Welcome to NFL Nexus. Before we unpack this incredibly explosive situation, please take a second to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, drop a comment down below with what you think about all this, and seriously, consider supporting us directly by becoming a channel member. Because right now, in San Francisco, the ground is completely shifting under our feet. The story of Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers has rapidly escalated from a quiet behind-closed-doors boardroom negotiation into a very public, incredibly chaotic standoff. Okay, let's really dive into this, because this isn't just your typical story about a star player wanting a bigger paycheck. It is so much deeper than that. What we are actually looking at here is a masterclass in how not to navigate the treacherous waters of NFL business. I mean, think about it. How do you systematically and almost intentionally ruin a high-stakes trade request in the National Football League? Well, you see, leverage in the NFL, it's a delicate, fragile thing. It takes years and years of blood, sweat, and tears to build it up. But as we are seeing right now, it takes only a few frantic taps on a smartphone screen to completely destroy it. We're watching a high-speed collision between a player's ego, his own perceived market value, and the cold, unfeeling machinery of a billion-dollar front office. It is a standoff that has the entire league watching in sheer, utter disbelief. Because look, here is the cold, hard, completely unyielding reality of the situation. Despite all the noise, despite the anger, and those viral internet moments, Brandon Ayuk remains a member of the San Francisco 49ers. Period. He is desperate to leave. He wants out bad. But the reality of the NFL collective bargaining agreement is cold, and it is unforgiving. He is trapped by his current contract. Right now, he has absolutely zero immediate leverage. None. The 49ers hold his playing rights, they hold his financial future for the upcoming season, and there is no magic button he can press to just suddenly become a free agent. So for now, he has absolutely no choice but to sit, wait, and watch those calendar pages slowly turn, completely at the mercy of the very organization he is trying to escape. Which brings us to the absolute key moment in this entire saga, a wildly risky social media strategy. Faced with this completely impenetrable wall of contractual reality, Ayuk made a choice. And it was a chaotic scene, really. Imagine it, a frustrated star athlete sitting there, taking out his phone, opening Instagram, and deciding to bypass the boardroom entirely to launch an unprecedented digital war. Let's meticulously break down the sheer scale of this multi-front attack, because it's wild. Step 1, he bashes the 49ers organization, completely alienating the fan base. Step 2, he gets specific, targeting General Manager John Lynch, making the conflict deeply, deeply personal. Step 3, he turns his sights on his own former agent, broadcasting his internal disarray to the world. And then, step 4, honestly, the most baffling move of the whole shebang, he bashes the NFLPA, the very union designed to protect him. He didn't just burn a bridge here, guys. He systematically detonated every single access point he had. So what is the psychology happening behind the screen here? What's the end game? Well, the ultimate goal is clear, yet it is incredibly desperate. Ayuk was operating under the calculated, albeit deeply, deeply flawed hope that creating a massive public relations nightmare would basically force San Francisco's hand. He wanted to make the situation so incredibly toxic and uncomfortable that the front office would just throw up their hands and release him prematurely, long before training camp even starts. Honestly, it's the equivalent of setting a fire in your own living room, just hoping your landlord will let you out of your lease so they don't have to deal with the smoke. It's a huge gamble. Now let's look at the immediate impact and what changes now, starting with a very harsh critique from a veteran executive. To impartially dissect the fallout of this scorched earth strategy, we really have to look to Andrew Brandt. Now, if you don't know him, he's a former front office executive for the Green Bay Packers. He is a man who knows the complex, high-stakes dance of NFL negotiations intimately. Brandt, who's affectionately known as a Business of Sports Hall of Famer, looked at this exact situation and summarized it with immense gravity. He stated, "What a bad way to get it." Now he's making Instagram videos just begging the 49ers to cut him, bashing the 49ers, bashing John Lynch, bashing his agent, bashing the NFLPA. Brandt views this whole thing as a massive cautionary tale of negotiation suicide. In the highly scrutinized world of NFL front offices, acting erratically on social media isn't a show of strength. No, it is a flashing red warning sign to every other team. So the crucial point is,
The very strategy Ayuk is using to try and force his way to a new home is exactly the thing that's driving his potential suitors away. Brent poses this devastating rhetorical question. You think the Commanders want a piece of that? I can't see it. Because think about it. Ayuk is broadcasting to the entire league that the second things don't go his way, he will publicly attack everyone around him. If you were a general manager trying to build a cohesive, winning locker room, why on earth would you invite that level of volatility into your building? He is actively repelling the very teams he is practically begging to come and save him.
And that brings us perfectly into the latest developments, specifically looking at the Washington Commanders question.
This is exactly where the plot thickens considerably. Ayuk has been highly publicized and honestly incredibly specific about wanting to join the Washington Commanders. And there is a deep intertwined history here that we really need to dig into. Let's trace the timeline down to the smallest historical details. Back in 2020, when Ayuk was drafted by San Francisco, a key executive evaluating his tape in that front office was Adam Peters. Fast forward a bit to 2023, Ayuk builds a very close, tight-knit friendship with star quarterback Jayden Daniels. Now jump to 2026, and Adam Peters is sitting in the big chair. He's the general manager of the Washington Commanders, and Jayden Daniels is his franchise quarterback. Ayuk looks over at Washington and sees his best friend under center, and a GM who believed in him years ago. In his mind, it's the absolute perfect escape route. But here is the brutal reality of the NFL's legal gridlock. Washington literally cannot say a word. They can't send a text, they can't make a back-channel phone call, and they certainly cannot publicly acknowledge Ayuk's pleas on the internet. Why? Because of the league's incredibly strict tampering rules. If Washington shows a single ounce of interest while Ayuk is legally under contract with San Francisco, they risk catastrophic penalties. We're talking massive fines and the potential forfeiture of crucial draft picks. So their hands are tied. They must remain entirely silent. They are forced to just sit there, wait, and watch, leaving Brandon Ayuk essentially screaming his demands into an empty, soundproof void. Which brings us right back to the echoing, resonant question posed by Andrew Brandt. Who looks at these videos and signs up for that? Commanders, really? You kind of have to chuckle a bit, because if you really think about it from Washington's perspective, it's a huge mess. They are actively trying to build a disciplined, unified culture under a brand new regime. Does a player actively sabotaging his current team on social media fit that vision? Probably not. Every single time Ayuk posts a new video, his market value deteriorates just a little bit more. He isn't showing teams how much he wants to win. He's showing them exactly how difficult he can be to manage when he's unhappy. The consequences of this digital tantrum are running deep, guys.
To truly understand this, we need to look at the scale of the situation within the 49ers system of stars and scrutiny. Because to grasp the sheer magnitude of this, we need to step back and look at the broader San Francisco 49ers ecosystem. This is a franchise where intense, microscope-level scrutiny is just the daily reality. It's where reputations are forged under intense fire. And there is absolutely no starker contrast in this ecosystem right now than looking at Ayuk versus his own quarterback, Brock Purdy. Let's break this down. On one side, you have Brandon Ayuk, an established, incredibly talented star receiver who is spending his time creating digital drama and actively damaging his own market value. But then, on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, you have young Brock Purdy, a quarterback who is constantly, relentlessly questioned by the national media. But instead of taking to Instagram to complain about it, Purdy simply puts his head down, he silences his critics on the field, and he is quietly commanding massive, undeniable respect from the most terrifying defenders around the entire league. And this brilliantly illustrates the core difference between demanding respect and actually earning it. Just listen to Max Crosby, the perennial all-pro pass rusher for the Las Vegas Raiders. Here's a man whose literal job description is to destroy quarterbacks. Yet Crosby completely dismissed the tired narrative that Purdy is just a product of the system. He stated clearly, he's one of the better young quarterbacks in the league. He's talented. You see that with how great that offense is able to operate. True leverage, guys, true respect, it is earned out there on the grass, against elite, ferocious competition. It's not earned through a ring light at a smartphone camera. Let's delve even deeper into the microscopic details of what makes Purdy elite according to defensive players like Crosby. It is so much more than just the beautifully scripted plays. It's Purdy's incredible ability to extend plays way beyond the pocket when the pressure actually arrives. It's his raw, uncanny talent for hitting incredibly tight window throws in high-leverage situations. It's his pure instinct to improvise brilliantly when the original Shanahan master plan completely collapses around him. He is actively, week by week, defying the system QB label through undeniable physical traits and lightning-fast mental processing.
And this sharp, meteoric rise in Purdy's undeniable stock, it creates a jarring, almost uncomfortable contrast with Ayuk's plummeting, self-sabotage reputation.
Because at the end of the day, in the harsh reality of the National Football League, leverage is earned through undeniable performance. It is earned by stepping onto the field and physically forcing the opposition to respect you. It is never, ever earned through public complaints and social media tantrums. The stark, undeniable difference in professional maturity between the aging, disgruntled star sitting there making videos in his car and the rising young core, out there earning the fear and admiration of the league's absolute best pass rushers, well, it's a monumental lesson for every young player watching this unfold.
Which brings us to the climax of this entire explainer. Who actually holds the ultimate leverage here?
Let's break down the brutal, unvarnished reality of these NFL contracts in extreme detail. It is a terrifying game of chicken right now, but the San Francisco 49ers hold absolutely all the cards, every single one. Their position is completely fortified. They can literally just squat on his existing contract. They have absolutely zero financial pressure to move him. On the other side of the table, you have Ayuk's position, a deeply self-inflicted damage reputation, completely forced to wait, watching his potential trade options rapidly dwindle as teams back away from the drama. The 49ers don't have to blink. They really don't. They can just sit up in their air-conditioned front offices and watch him sweat it out.
And let's trace the upcoming financial timeline, because this is where the reality truly, deeply sets in. July 2026 is filled with all these public demands and viral videos. August 2026 brings the sweltering heat of a grueling training camp holdout. But here is the crucial, devastating detail that changes everything. The San Francisco 49ers do not owe him a single dime, not one red penny, until the first actual game checks are due all the way in September. All of his noisy summer outbursts are entirely powerless against a financial calendar that heavily favors the organization. He's out here fighting a war in July that doesn't cost the team a single dollar until September. And because he has actively tanked his own value so severely with these stunts, executives are pointing out a truly shocking possibility. If Ayuk's antics become just too toxic for the locker room, the 49ers might not get a first-round pick in a trade. Honestly, they might not even get a second or a third. They might eventually just dump him onto a desperate team for as little as a future conditional 7th-round draft pick. Just wrap your head around that. Going from being viewed as a foundational offensive piece for a Super Bowl contender to being tossed aside for literally the lowest possible compensation in the entire sport. But the potential consequences, they could get even grimmer for Ayuk personally. As experts have suggested, if the 49ers cut him or trade him for absolutely pennies, what team is going to eagerly hand a massive, multi-year, fully guaranteed contract to a player who just practically torched his last franchise online? The reality is this: a superstar prime-age wide receiver might actually find himself having to settle for a low-risk, one-year veteran minimum deal just to prove to the league that he can behave within a system. He might literally have to take the absolute financial minimum just to escape his own self-made prison and try to rebuild the trust he so carelessly damaged. So we have to ask, will Ayuk's digital rebellion force him into a devastating one-year deal? And will this spectacular public failure change how NFL players negotiate their futures forever? One thing is absolutely certain. This isn't over yet, not by a long shot. The consequences of these next few weeks will echo through the front offices of the league for years to come. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer here on NFL Nexus. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, comment your thoughts on the Ayuk situation below, and consider becoming a channel member to support what we do. We will see you all next time.